Sumba.
The TVWAN News is proudly brought to you by
BSP, our bank, our people.
Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Jasmine Iru.
And I'm Terry Longwood. Join me for sports later on in the bulletin.
In this edition, kidnappers told to surrender, PM off to Gabon for One Forest Summit, and athletes prep for Berlin Paralympics. Two new family sexual violence units have opened in Port Moresby, bringing the total to 7. The new FSVUs located at Gordon's and Badili police stations offer support and resources to survivors of domestic and sexual violence within communities. They are staffed by specialized police personnel trained in complex case management. They will help victims obtain protection orders and navigate the criminal justice system, as well as provide referrals for additional services. The FSVUs also conduct awarenesses programs to prevent sexual and domestic violence. Prime Minister James Marape has made a special appeal to youths in the country to let go of a life of crime and make an honest living. The Prime Minister made this call when announcing the successful rescue of the hostages held captive in the jungles of Bosavi in the Nipakutubu district of Southern Highlands.
There is no place for those who think money can be made from criminal acts, such as holding people at ransom. Prime Minister James Marape made these remarks when welcoming the Bosavi hostages after they were released to police by their captors in Bosavi in the Nipakutubu area of Southern Highlands province.
Erroneous experience that those 4 captives went through is a story that I don't want any event into the future, any friends of Papua New Guinea or any Papua New Guineans to experience again. And so we will not rest. This is just the first phase of the operation. Second phase continues. Third phase continues to ensure that those who engage in criminal enterprise by the barrel of the gun are facing the loss of our country.
The Prime Minister called on the kidnappers to surrender themselves to police, as police and military personnel will be in the area until they bring in the kidnappers.
Police are still at work up there. Police has not concluded work. The first stage of the operation has been concluded. The second stage is simple. Those criminals, hand yourself into the hands of police and make it easy for yourself and the communities up there. Our police will still be in pursuit of those who engage in such horrible criminal enterprise.
Marape thanked the police, military, intelligence and community leaders who, he said, worked together to have the last 3 hostages released without harm. The Prime Minister went on to appeal to every youth to make an honest living.
And so I just want to, at this time, say thank you to all who are involved. Police, defense, all leaders at the national level, provincial level, Governor Diallo, a specific mention to him, for him stepping up. Governor Tobo Yoto, Governor Chris Aveta, Governor Powi, and local leadership in and around the vicinity. Where it took place is still a dark space in our country in terms of no accessibility. We are trying to build a road into the Bosavi area.
Freddie Moe, TVWAN News.
Prime Minister James Marape also confirmed that 100,000 kina was paid to community leaders in the Fugumayu area to liaise for the release of the 4 hostages, who were unharmed but clearly very distraught. The criminals had demanded for 3.5 million kina. The PM confirmed that the 4 were physically unharmed and were safely released on Sunday, February the 26th.
Country must know there is no place for ransom. There was no 3.5 million kina paid. There were liaison monies exchanges, far less. And I just want to be honest to the country, around 100,000 kina was shepherded in through community leaders for the liaisons to take place, but there was no 3.5 million kina. The demand was high. They maintained the demand right all the way through, but we had to break the ice because we were concerned. The professor, especially on the professor and the 2 girls, they were losing health. Report we were getting that possibly their health might be affected.
MP for Nipa Kutubu Dr. Billy Joseph has commended the government for the effort put into ensuring the safe release of the 3 hostages. The hostages were rescued and brought to Port Moresby on Sunday, February the 26th, 2023.
Local MP for Nipa Kutubu Dr. Billy Joseph apologized to the families for the 4 people held captive by criminal elements in Mount Bosavi. He condemned their actions. Dr. Billy said the lack of road links and telecommunication services in the area was very challenging in the rescue efforts.
I thank the government led by the Prime Minister, Honorable James Marape, the Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable John Rosso, the Minister for Internal Security, Honorable Peter Semarili Jr., the Governor for Southern Highlands, Governor Powi, and the Governor for Hela, Governor Undialu, the member for Komohulia, as well as the Commander for Police and security personnel who were involved in the rescue of the hostages.
Dr. Billy says the incident has illustrated to resource developers and the government to ensure basic government services reach Mount Bosavi and other remote parts of Nipa Kutubu district.
There is no way that if there is any medical emergency, if there is any security emergency like what we have just witnessed in Mount Bosavi, it will take us days to reach them and assist them. And that is not fair, that is not right. So the government and the developers, ExxonMobil and Santos, and relevant entities of government like MRDC and KPHL, Common Petroleum Holdings, we need to seriously consider investing heavily in infrastructure in Kutubu, Nipa, Mount Bosavi, Komo, Magarima, and these project footprint areas.
Access to law and order services is also paramount.
Because what has just happened is a wake-up call to not just the government, but to the developers as well. People have guns just like what the police and army have. So we are actually at this stage at the mercy of people. They can do anything and there is nothing we can do to help. So we need to wake up and start looking at the root causes of some of these problems that we're having now, and look at how we can address them from the bottom up and from the top down.
Freddie Moe, TVWAN News.
The proposed Nadzab relocation plan, driven by the Lands Ministry in close collaboration with the Morobe provincial government, is almost complete. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Lands John Rosso said they are working with the Morobe Governor Luther Wenge and his administration to establish the planning of Morobe's new provincial headquarters at Nadzab.
80% of the work is already done, and it's just a matter of finalizing the relocation of our provincial headquarters and building a brand new township at Nadzab. This will also help alleviate our housing for our people in Morobe province. We're trying to build at least 5,000 houses there and have a brand new provincial headquarters there.
We have 150 million for the Nadzab. We're going to move the capital from here to Nata. So 150 million to buy the landowners customary land or estate land not been used, and then free us from moving up there and set the infrastructure up in Arkansas.
PNG Power is facing significant revenue losses due to power theft, which includes meter tampering and direct connections. To combat this, PNG Power partnered with USAID PEP to develop a revenue protection strategy, which includes the Amnesty Initiative. This initiative encourages all customers on illegal connections to come forward and register without penalty fees or back bill charges during the amnesty period. Phase 3 launched on February the 15th, 2023, and aims to register more illegal connections and collect bills. The initiative helps PNG Power register users into the billing system and generate the right amount of energy to avoid low voltage issues. After the amnesty period, the talkout program resumes, during which the public is rewarded with incentives for reporting illegal power connections. Consumers caught stealing power but have not registered under amnesty will be prosecuted. You're watching TV1 News. We'll be back with more local news after the break.
With BSP Internet Banking, you can enjoy your banking at home, at work, or wherever you are. BSP Personal Internet Banking allows you to view your accounts and transactions, transfer money, bill pay, schedule future payments, or access your bank statements. Visit your nearest BSP branch to register now. BSP Internet Banking, the smarter way to bank. BSP, our bank, our people.
It's that time again! Scale Rise is giving you the chance to win some Scale School money for 2023. Over 220 winners, 4 fortnightly draws, that's 55 fortnightly winners. Cash prizes starting at 1,000 kina, 2,000 kina, 3,000 kina. They also have consolation prizes of 500 kina. Buy any Scale Rise or Ori Rise to enter the promotion for your chance to win the Scale School money. Terms and conditions apply. Scale Rise,
the brain changer.
Open Net.
Very superstitious. Writings on the wall. When you believe in things, but you don't understand that you're superstition ain't the way.
It's on again. It's back to school with Colgate and Protex. 100,000 kina worth of prizes to be won. Win laptops, tablets, and 250 kina shopping vouchers. Simply purchase 2 or more Colgate and Protex branded products, write your name and contact details at the back of the receipt, drop it in the entry bin in participating stores for a chance to win. Promotion begins 1st February and ends 31st March 2022. Hurry! Go to your nearest participating store and purchase Colgate and Protex products to win. Terms and conditions apply.
Strong like you, smart like me. I hope they don't break. Now Charlie look his son. This is Relaxo. Strong plus thread. Should I try them on you?
No, please. I'll take them.
Relaxo. Very strong, lasts long.
Welcome back. The Thalassia District Procurement Committee has awarded the Thalassia Police Barracks project to Gatoni Construction Limited. The awarding of the contract took place at the National Procurement Commission in Port Moresby last week. Member for Thalassia Freddie Kumai thanked the Thalassia DPC for expediting the tender process so efficiently deal with the volatile, lawless situation in Thalassia District. He said the project will build 20 police houses at the abandoned Thalassia Township land next to the police barracks. The Thalassia Police Barracks project is worth 4 million kina and is funded under the national government's Special Intervention Program. Prime Minister James Marape has left the country to attend the One Forest Summit in Libreville in the Republic of Gabon in Central Africa. He joins other heads of governments and ministers of state of rainforest nations in this dialogue from the 1st to the 2nd of March. For the first time, Prime Minister will attend the One Forest Summit in the Republic of Gabon in Central Africa. The meeting commences this Wednesday, March the 1st. PM Marape stressed it was necessary as PNG has 78% forest cover and is a substantial resource to the huge global assets.
I did not attend COP25, COP26 and all the various other meetings that goes on with climate change and forest conservation related matters. This is the first time I'm attending a high profile meeting. In respect to our forestry, it needs to be put in its right context. We have big forests, and our forest conservation is helping upkeep of global climate equilibrium. The forest conservation conversations must be made in the right context.
He said Article 6 of the Paris Agreement has no provision for environment conservation, hence this summit will address this significant gap.
So my message is that conference would be an up in us to be a keynote speaker. If you want me to conserve my forest in my country, then someone, the industrialized nations or the big global industries, the conglomerates, someone must pay for conservation of my forest. It has present monetary value as well as it has future monetary value attached to the forest of our country.
The data on resources coverage and potential logging revenue losses will be shared with the bilateral and multilateral partners to clearly demonstrate the trade-offs. He said this data must define processes and systems committed conservation arrangements which are tied to compensation.
I've been invited personally by the French president. He met me twice, and latest was in the margins of the APEC meeting in Thailand. He said, "Brother, you have to come yourself. As a big forest nation, you have to speak on issues you feel is close to your heart."
The Prime Minister is accompanied by the Minister for Forests, Salio Waipo, and Minister for Environment, Conservation and Climate Change, Simon Kilepa. They return Sunday, March the 5th. Meantime, Prime Minister James Marape will issue an ultimatum to the One Forest Summit to uplift the proposed round log ban in Papua New Guinea. He said there is a need to raise PNG's own revenue. The PM said the PNG National Forestry Authority reports that direct revenue from log export tax is 350 million kina on average annually. Other relevant tax collected by PNG's provincial governments and districts are to the tune of 46 million kina on average annually. Other revenues from the project development levy brings in 5 to 10 million annually, and direct resource rent and royalty payments paid every quarter to local landowners equates to 10 million kina annually. He stressed that the ban imposes consequences detrimental to PNG's revenue collection domestically, and it could potentially lose an industry that contributes 1.2 billion kina each year in export earnings and indirect benefits like employment and infrastructure improvements.
So our message in this upcoming meeting will be simple. If someone wants me to conserve this forest, which is a global asset we have in this country, then please put down the money, pay for the conservation. Otherwise, they have no moral standing to impress or impose upon us to slow down deforestation or slow down harvest of our forest, because we need this money to help sustain our local population, create employment, as well as pay for our country's upkeep.
More than 120 tourists arrived in Marape province for the first time since the uplifting of COVID-19 restrictions. The tourists were brought in by Marape Tourism Bureau, Inc. and taken on a tour to Mo Village in Huon Gulf District. Marape Tourism Bureau Chief Executive Officer Defol Jabbar is pleased at this return of tourists to Marape shores. He said they arrived on 16th February and were taken up Mo Village, where they participated in cultural activities like canoe building and weaving sago roofing. Joba, who for the first time facilitated a cruise tourism niche operation single-handedly, said they anticipate the next arrival of tourists in the third quarter of this year. They hope to expand cruise expeditions to Nawaib and Finchafen districts. Meanwhile, board chairman of Morbe Tourism Bureau and council member of Lay Chamber and Commerce and Industry Namon Mawason urged provincial, district and local level government authorities to be wary of, to be mindful of false tourism schemes popping up with unrecognized trainings for tour guides and tourism initiatives, as they may jeopardize the tourism potential of their localities and people. Treasurer Ian Ling-Saki says the current actions of Puma have highlighted the need for a holistic solution. During a recent meeting with Bank of PNG's acting governor, Elizabeth Genia, the treasurer said BPNG has indicated their intention to lift the release of foreign exchange to the market from $60 million per month up to $100 million, about 350 million in PNG Kina for 2023.
In his latest press statement, Treasurer Ian Ling-Saki said there are 3 areas that the government will look into to address the current situation with Puma Energy. Ling-Saki said the first is to assess the specific issues of whether Puma has breached our country's banking and taxation requirements. Secondly is the need to address failings in the fuel market, including the appropriateness of some long-term contracts going back to the inter-oil days. He said the country must also continue to address the broader foreign exchange issues that have been damaging PNG's growth performance since 2015. Ling-Saki highlighted in the press statement his recent meeting with the acting governor for the Bank of PNG, Elizabeth Genia. He said during these discussions, he was extremely pleased that the Bank of PNG has indicated their intention to lift the release of foreign exchange to the market from $60 million per month up to $100 million, which is 350 million PNG Kina per month for all of 2023. This should assist substantially with foreign exchange shortages. Ling-Saki said the increase in foreign exchange is a very important step in moving back forward towards full Kina convertibility. Jumaima Sugba, TV1 News.
The Minister for State Enterprises, William Duma, and Australian High Commissioner, John Philp, exchanged letters in Canberra regarding support for Air Niugini's fleet replacement program. The program aims to improve safety, service delivery, reliability, and reduce carbon emissions by replacing Boeing 767s with two new Boeing 787 Dreamliners and transitioning to a more efficient regional jet replacement. The Australian government supports the program and is providing technical support and financing options. Air Niugini is critical for passenger freight transport, services across PNG, and cooperation between Australia and PNG on this national service is welcomed. Australia has also supported Air Niugini during the COVID-19 pandemic and is collaborating on introducing the first connections with Palau. BSP has announced its financial results for FY 2022, revealing a record underlying profit of 1.136 billion Kina. However, BSP's statutory profit was impacted by the new PNG government taxes, resulting in a reduction to 1.081 billion Kina. The 190 million Kina additional company tax and a one-off tax credit of 135 million Kina were the key factors affecting the results.
Continues to improve following BSP Financial Group held its 2022 financial year investor presentation today at its Waigani headquarters. BSP PNG has reported a record underlying profit of 1.136 billion kina, with statutory profit reduced to 1.081 billion kina due to the impacts of new PNG government taxes. Despite the challenges, BSP's acting group CEO Ronesh Dayal stated that the group's underlying net profit after tax or net profit after tax was 1.136 billion kina, a 5.7 increase from 2021 profits. The improved economic conditions in the Pacific with the reopening of borders and resumption of business activities were the key drivers of the underlying result.
The credit quality continues to improve following border reopening post-COVID-19, and it was pleasing to see the good improvement in credit quality resulting in a credit of 5 million kina in our bad and doubtful debt expense line. With the overall net profit after tax for the second year in a row, we've exceeded the billion kina mark to 1081 in 2022.
Mr. Dayal highlighted that maintaining a dividend payout ratio of 75%, BSP declared 813.5 million kina in dividends to shareholders for financial year 2022. A final dividend of 1 kina 40 per share, payable on 21st April 2023, combined with the 34 toya per share interim dividend paid on 14th October 2022, brings the dividend per share for financial year 2022 to 1 kina 74 toya. However, Mr. Dayal noted that a key focus in 2023 will be adapting to the tax rate increase to 45% on PNG commercial banks. He emphasized that the tax rate increase has the potential to impede investment and growth in PNG's financial sector, which is counterproductive for the long-term economic growth ambitions of PNG. Despite the challenges, BSP remains committed to the prosperity of PNG and countries in the Pacific. BSP currently has no plans to scale back its existing network or reduce its services in PNG as a result of the tax rate increase. Mr. Dayal concluded by stating that banking is a vital service for all communities where BSP operates, and providing services to customers is a core philosophy of the organization. Kaokido Jr., TV1 News.
The Kokoda Trail Tourism Development Association is now putting foreign Kokoda tour companies on notice. President Kila Sibolo has declared that foreign firms who do not comply with PNG law, who do not meet their financial obligations to campsite owners, and who do not provide for the welfare of guides and porters will no longer be tolerated.
The Kokoda Trail Tourism Development Association is a landowner-based association established to ensure village communities across the Kokoda Trail receive their fair share of benefits and opportunities from Kokoda tourism. President Kila Sibolo said they used the COVID-19 shutdown period to review past practices and were shocked at what they found. Sibolo outlined that unanimous motion of a PNG Tour Operators Forum in 2017 was ignored at a later meeting in Cairns, and the recommendations were never implemented. As a result, guides and porters from across the trail have been overloaded by foreign tour operators. One of them died, and according to a Kokoda Trek Authority ranger, he was forced to carry almost double the recommended weight of 18 kilograms that was the maximum allowed by Australian doctors during the Kokoda campaign in 1942. Sibolo said overloading can also lead to long-term problems with porters' backs, hips and knees, so the association will have to help protect them, as there are no health services in villages to treat these long-term problems. Campsite owners have reported that many foreigners tour companies do not pay the 5 kina per night for their guides and porters. This means they don't have enough money to provide proper facilities for them. The ELO Association has received reports that some tour companies who charge trekkers up to 5,000 kina each to trek across the trail will not spend 50 kina on a sleeping bag and mat for their guides and porters. They expect them to bring their own blanket and sleep on wet ground. Sibolo said this will no longer be tolerated by Kokoda Tourism. Sibolo is seeking a meeting with the Kokoda Trek Authority on behalf of KTTDA to establish a partnership with the rangers to help put an end to the exploitation of villagers engaged in Kokoda tourism. Jumaima Sukbat, TV1 News.
And that ends the news segment. Here is the weather for the next 24 hours. After the break, a look at what's making headlines in the region.
Experience a convenient and smarter way to do your banking with BSB Mobile Banking. You don't have to leave the office or your home to pay for bills. You can view your account balance, transfer funds, top up phone credits, or purchase Easy Pay units wherever you are. Visit your BSB branch today to register now for BSB Mobile Banking. BSB Mobile Banking, the smarter way to bank. BSB, our bank, our people.
When you're spending time with family, when you've got a big day ahead, when you have given it all you've got, when you're putting on a feast, that's when you want the best. That's when you want flame rice. New flame rice. Win him, Olgeta.
He says the best Hunters players come from his region. So does she. But there's one thing that brings everyone together. SB Lager. Bongum Yumi. Cheers to 70 years.
Strong like you, smart like me. I hope they don't break. Now surely look his son. This is Relaxo. Strong plus thread. Should I try him on you?
No, please. I'll take them.
Relaxo. Very strong, lasts long.
Right across the nation, we eat snacks crackers. Emi trupla. All get a young plana lapun, only like him snacks crackers. Only make him here, no PNG, one time lay biscuit company. It's crunchy and tasty. It's irresistible.
Scope returns to TVWAN on Sunday, March 5th. Tune in every Sunday evening for the latest stories of developments around the country. Scope, returning Sunday, March 5th, here on TV1.
Welcome back. On Friday, the 24th of February, Madang staged its Remembrance Day at Bates Oval in Madang town. In honor of the day, a parade was staged by the police and the CIS, with school students from various schools in Madang taking part in a march to Bates Oval to honor the life of the country's great leader. Present at the ceremony were church leaders, women's reps, and public servants. Provincial Administrator Frank Lau said Sir Michael had a vision for PNG and now it is fulfilled and practically seen 47 years later. In our country, a united PNG and nation with its own leaders. He said the public service will continue to work forward to deliver the people of Madang the vision of our forefathers, including that of Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare. Turning overseas, 1 year on from devastating floods, residents in Gympie are still trying to rebuild. Many have been met with further heartbreak after learning of what they need to qualify for government funding to raise their homes.
1 year ago, Des Lawler's Gympie home was struck by the deluge.
Everything gone, everything, and just a massive big mess.
On paper, he's the perfect candidate for the $741 million Resilient Homes Fund. But the devil is in the detail.
They said, okay, well, you qualify for the raising of the house. So that's great, that's what I want to do. They said, but the stipulation is that you have to raise the house above the new flood level.
The 2022 floodwaters came to about 1 metre above the floorboards. To be approved for a house-raising grant, the ground floor would have to be lifted to above the current roof height.
I would need to get so many variations and that it would effectively be a 3-storey house.
In cases like Mr Lawler's, where raising the home is not an option, residents can still apply to have their homes retrofitted with flood-resistant materials. But that won't stop him from worrying for the day the next flood hits.
I've slipped in some pretty bad depression. There's times when I thought, oh, I've had enough of all of this.
The Queensland Department of Public Works says 56 Gympie residents have expressed interest in raising their home, but none have made a formal application to the scheme. Some have taken matters into their own hands after learning of the height requirements.
That would have put their home, I think 4 or 5 metres off the ground, which is just impractical. So they chose to just get in and get the work done themselves and pay for it.
Applications for the scheme are still open, and residents like Mr Lawler are considering their next move. But he doesn't plan to leave the place he loves.
The federal government has returned 2 cultural objects to Mexico after they were seized at the border. The Australian Border Force intercepted a painting and a centuries-old copper bowl last year.
The 2 objects had been purchased by separate private collectors but were stopped by Australian Border Force officials since they didn't have the appropriate documentation for cultural exports. Today they were handed back to Mexico by the Federal Arts Minister Tony Burke. Now, the painting is about a century old and tells the story of a mining accident and a worker who was trapped underground. But the small copper bowl can be traced back almost to the 13th century, about 800 years. The Mexican ambassador to Australia, Eduardo Peña-Hala, told a small crowd assembled here today that Australia and Mexico have a shared history when it comes to significant cultural objects being exported without consent.
Protecting our heritage is like embracing the essence of our culture, feeling the beat of our traditions and listening to the whispers of our ancestors.
Both objects will be returned to Mexico now. It's unclear exactly where they will be returned to. The small bowl will likely be returned to the state of Oaxaca and the painting back to the church from which it was originally taken.
The descendants of a woman and her child who were murdered in Victoria's West more than a century ago have called for help from an unlikely source to find their final resting place. A team of cave divers has been working in the Eden Hope Cemetery, hoping to solve the grisly mystery.
More grave sites here.
150 years after they were murdered, mystery still surrounds the case of Kevin Ryan's ancestors, Maria Langley and her daughter Louisa.
We're here today trying to find the unmarked gravesite of where they were buried.
They were killed by Maria's husband, Robert Cook, who hid their remains under a log in Western Victoria in 1874. When they were found a decade later, the remains were stored at the Eden Hope police station for another 34 years, before being buried in an unmarked grave at the cemetery. But its location is still a mystery.
All the records for the cemetery here in Eden Hope were all burnt in a fire in the 60s, so we have no idea what part of the cemetery they're buried in.
The way the ground penetrating radar works,
now help has arrived from an unlikely source, cave divers with their ground-penetrating radar.
we can drag over the ground and it can detect in shallow surfaces or below the surface if there are changes in the soil from excavations or digging or burials.
The team believe they've identified the search area, but it's still a tall task.
When we're talking about older graves, it's quite likely that wooden boxes or wooden caskets and so on over a century old have disintegrated into the soil of the gravesite itself.
The Langley family's journey is far from over. They now await the results of the scan, hoping they'll be one step closer to finding the final resting place of Maria and Louisa. Placing a headstone would be the ultimate honour.
On behalf of the Langley families, that they are not forgotten and we will always remember them.
For decades, Aboriginal people have lived in town camps in the heart of Mbantua, Alice Springs. Town camp youth centres there play a vital role in the lives of the First Nation kids.
Scattered throughout Mbantua, Alice Springs are Aboriginal town camps. The neighbourhoods are the heart of the Indigenous community in the Red Centre.
You're going to be a what? A cat, right?
Many have youth centres where families can use washing machines, computers and grab a feed.
Did you find the black? Did you find the black paint?
You've gone really hard there. This youth hub at the Hidden Valley Town Camp in Alice Springs provides care for kids aged 6 to 16 and employs Aboriginal youth workers who grew up on this land, so they understand the nuances and history of Alice.
There we go.
It's a place where kids do their homework after school, as well as activities.
Don't move. Close your eyes. Cut out. Can you get that thing for me, that mother paint over there?
Face painting is a favourite.
We're going to be matching.
Matching with?
On the Erie and our flag.
Alright, yeah.
Do I look like a raccoon now?
This centre is open 5 days a week, but funding will run out in August this year. But young people here are hoping the doors stay open for a long time.
Can it be next?
The number of women in New South Wales Parliament now lags behind the female representation in Victoria and federally. For many women, the thought of entering what's known as the bear pit can be off-putting, but there are 4 female candidates wanting to change the face of the state politics.
Kelly Sloan joined the Liberal lineup. She was the first new candidate for the party that's faced criticism about female representation.
I'm really proud to be a woman in this party, and I think it's important to differentiate the Perrottet government from perhaps the federal government.
She's running in Vaucluse in Sydney's east, an area that fell federally to Teal independents who went up against male Liberal MPs. Teal's also won in Sydney's north, and now Helen Conway plans to take on Liberal MP Felicity Wilson.
I'm not here to fix the Liberal Party's woman problem. That's their issue, and I'll leave them to fix that problem. The real question is, who is the best person placed to represent the North Shore community?
This is Charisma Caliander's third tilt at state politics.
I saw the impact that me being a candidate had on people from diverse backgrounds.
And she's now likely to become an MP. She's been pre-selected for Labor's very safe seat of Liverpool. It's in contrast to Greens candidate Isabella Antonou, who is contesting the Labor-held seat of Summerhill.
This is not about being winnable. This is about showing people there are options and that they deserve more.
While these four women are from different political persuasions, they have something in common: Women for Election, an organisation that offers courses for aspiring candidates.
Often I get presented with women don't seem to be interested in politics, but we've trained over 2,500 women in the last 2 years, so they are interested, but they just don't know how to engage in the first aspect.
Being a young woman of cultural community, being a queer woman, I'm very aware of spaces that are not open to me.
Currently, women make up 33% of members in New South Wales Parliament. That's slightly more than the percentage in Queensland, but well below Victoria, which has almost achieved gender parity. Federally, it's sitting at 44%. Looking at representation within the major parties here, Labor is at 38%. The Liberals have just under 30% women in its parliamentary ranks.
I want to be part of change, and I do see that change happening already. It's taken longer than people would have expected.
The sooner we get more women into Parliament, the sooner we'll get better decision making.
It's really important that this opportunity that I kind of stumbled on isn't wasted.
A new take on what political representation can look like in New South Wales.
Securing a rental property in Queensland can feel like an impossible task. Competition is fierce, and some experts say the murky practice of rental bidding is fueling the crisis.
It might be a landlord's market, but for Godwin Beach property owner Annie Pastors, it's all becoming a bit too much.
It's inundated. It really is. So many people are interested that it's difficult to sort through them. So one of the properties is the bottom part of our house.
Some people are resorting to extreme measures to get a roof over their head.
I've been offered up to 200 more a week, which I wouldn't accept because I think it's unethical and it's just adding to the whole situation.
The vacancy rate across Queensland is sitting at 0.8%, but the Real Estate Institute says in a healthy market it would be above 2.6%. That's making tenants desperate.
Rent bidding is prohibited, and what that means is that when you are advertising a property for rent, you can't be asking for offers.
And some are offering to pay up to 6 months up front.
Of course, it doesn't prevent someone from coming along and offering more money for that property, and the acceptance of more wouldn't constitute an offence.
The Queensland Government has introduced rental reforms, but they don't close the loophole, allowing tenants to offer more. The Greens say the state of the market shows additional measures are needed.
What we need to see in terms of rent bidding is not just a ban on real estate agents soliciting increasing rent, but for property investors and for real estate agents to not be able to accept higher rents than what's advertised.
It's a call backed by property owner Annie Pastors.
I mean, they're living in cars, some are living in tents, absolutely desperate.
A wretched problem with no easy fix.
After the break, we'll have Terry Longboot with the sports news.
He says the best Hunters players come from his region. So does she. But there's one thing that brings everyone together. SB Lager, Bongum Yumi. Cheers to 70 years.
A quick favorite meal for the day does feel good. Snacks noodles is my choice for a simple meal. It is easy to prepare and fast to cook. And with a touch of flavor and ingredients, quality noodles that can be cooked and enjoyed in many different ways. You see, my whole family loves it. It's made here in PNG and comes in different pack sizes. Snacks noodles, tastier but you like it more.
It's Superman.
Superman.
I love you. This is why I was sent here, to be Superman. Don't lose hope.
New season, Superman and Lois, premieres March 15th, Wednesday on Warner TV.
I want you to win somebody's heart. That's Naren.
I never asked for your help with anything, Dad. Don't impose your expectations.
I'm going to be the one who makes the final decision here.
Welcome back. In sports, PNG Power Sparkies are inaugural champions of the first ever Port Moresby Men's Corporate 7 softball tournament after coming from behind to beat Nesfan Savers 27 runs to 22 in the big grand final decider played at the Bishini Softball Park on Sunday, 26 Feb. The Savers got off to a flyer at the top of the first inning, 9 runs to 1, but could not hold on in the end. The newly introduced Corporate 7 softball tournament by Port Moresby Men's Softball entered in a thriller on Sunday that saw PNG Power Sparkies showing their class and experience to take the cap against an equally determined Nesfan Savers outfit. The big grand final was officially pitched off by Port Moresby Softball lifetime member Chris Byers, who also officiated at the post-match presentations. Savers, with the underdog tag going into the big decider, won the toss and elected to bat first. At the top of the first inning, Savers batters were spot on with a number of good hits and placings that forced Sparkies to scramble with their fielding at times, thus allowing runners on base to score easy homers. Sparkies' turn at bat at the bottom of the first inning recorded 2 runs, but one was disqualified on technical ground, keeping the score at 9-1 in favor of Savers. Halfway through the contest, Sparkies somehow got their rhythm back, keeping the scoreboard ticking over and setting a grandstand finish. Savers, on the other hand, kept cool, calm and collected to stay in the game that saw both teams went on a scoring spree in the last 3 innings. Sparkies' last turn at bat in the final inning again showed their class and experience to outrun Savers by 5 runs, 27-22, to take out the inaugural title in a thriller. At the post-match, PNG Power Sparkies got the cap while Savers picked up the runners-up trophy, followed by awards for outstanding individual performance as well. Port Moresby Men's Softball Treasurer Konzi Byers said the Corporate 7 softball concept is a new initiative that is being trialled out with 6 teams that competed over 2 days, Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, it's been a good turnout for the past 2 days. We started yesterday with the round-robin games. Each team played 3 games yesterday and the last 2 games today. And we're now into the finals now.
From overwhelming interest and the successful outcome, the tournament will now be part of the Port Moresby Softball Association calendar.
Unknowns really showcase their skills after playing a couple of games, and yeah, this is another way of bringing new people into the sport, and as well as corporate clients as well. Yes, we plan to have this as an annual fixture in the POM Men's Softball Association calendar going forward. Just in line with POM Women's Softball Association, they run the normal slow pitch. This would be a great way to get the corporate companies ready for the proper season for the slow pitch.
Chinese businessman and patron of Special Olympics PNG Bernard Chan has thanked all business houses, government agencies and individuals for showing up to support the SOPNG World Games Berlin 2023 fundraising dinner on Saturday night. The patron was overwhelmed by the great turnout to support people living with special needs who are marginalized in our society. Specially impaired people in society are often marginalized and the most vulnerable group that needs our support. Businessman Bernard Chan, who is of third Rabaul Chinese generation, is the patron of Special Olympics PNG. Chan's passion to support people living with special needs has grown over time since he was president of PNG Paralympics Committee. When giving his closing remarks at the SO-PNG World Games fundraiser on Saturday night, the patron humorously shared one or two personal experiences about his involvement with the para-athletes and the inspiration he got to assist athletes excel not only in sport but education as well. Chan made mention of para-Olympians from East New Britain, Ben Theodore, who is visually impaired, and amputee Francis Compound, who are now successful working-class people. Compound attended university in Australia where he attained an accounting degree, while Theodore did a Microsoft program for visually impaired in Melbourne.
The inspiration came when our athlete, Francis Compound, he's the one who won the silver medal for Papua New Guinea. In whether it's Olympic Games or Paralympic Games, he's the one who brought a silver medal to our country. And the inspiration to all people with disabilities, when Grand Chief gifted him 200,000 kina after he won the silver medal, I sent him to university in Australia. And after 4 years, he attained his Bachelor of Accounting degree. So, he worked for Pricewaterhouse for 5 or 6 years. Later on, he got a job with the hair gold mine. He's now there now.
Chan said he gets a lot of inspiration and satisfaction from supporting special people with disability, regardless of whatever the outcome, adding as long as everybody is competing on the same level field. The patron again encouraged everybody to jump on the bandwagon and donate and support Team PNG to the Special Olympics World Games in Berlin, Germany in June. And that's the sports segment for now. Back to you, Jess.
Thank you, Terry. Before we go, remember to apply the following simple measures to prevent the transmission of the coronavirus. Regularly wash your hands with soap and water, cough or sneeze into your elbow, and exercise social distancing. If you are feeling sick, please stay at home. You can also call the COVID-19 hotline number for more information or assistance. Pleasant viewing. Bye for now.
Bye.
TVWAN News was proudly brought to you by
BSP, our bank, our people.